Greeting judges, I apologize for the quality of my camera. So I'll just explain the problem briefly and then we'll go to the solution, right? So what happens is in cross-border institutional payments, you either get a very slow manual compliance checks with the traditional banking system or a fast but non-compliant transfer on chain. So what I'm building is SentinelPay, which is a very generic name. I agree. It's actually an autonomous treasury engine built on Solana, which focuses on policy enforcement, right? What we do is we allow institutions to hard code their compliance rules directly into smart contracts, ensuring stablecoin payments only execute when 100% of the regulatory checks are met. I'll go to the dashboard. Now this is the dashboard. Like when you come to the website, this is what you will see. First of all, policies. If you're an institution, you can create your own policy. Now this is a very minimal depiction of how a policy would look like. Actually, there will be a lot more clauses. For instance, I've just given which jurisdictions you can allow, what is the max transfer in USD, what's your SQ threshold, and what's your know your transfer and KYT score. Okay. Now this is one of the active policy which I've already created. And again, this is currently deployed on Solana DevNet. And once this is done, oh yeah, one more thing which I have to tell you is that these aren't just backend filters. These are parameters that are anchored on chain to the institution's PDA. Okay. Now I'll show you the payment flow. Suppose this is basically the payment menu, right? Suppose you're trying to pay from Alice to Charlie. Now Charlie, this payment won't succeed. I'll tell you why in a minute, in a moment. Let's say 10,000. Sure, why not? USD current policy, cross-border export policy. This should work. And whatever. 2026 01. Who cares? And now I run a pre-flight check. Now this will be blocked. This transaction has been blocked. Why? Because uh, KYC was rejected. This person's KYC was rejected. Why? Because I have flagged Charlie as a sanctioned entity, right? Hence, the smart contract refuses to build the execution. Now, if I go back and I try to make another payment, I try to make from, let's say, Alice itself, but now this time I do to Bob. And so just so you know, values are completely random, something I don't care. Now, this should also not work. I'll tell you why. But this will be with a warning. The transaction is allowed, but the KYC score is a little low, KYT score, right? Now, why? This is because Bob has fewer than three transactions with us. Only KYT engines flag this as a medium risk. Okay. SentinelPay automatically routes this payment into an on-chain escrow pending manual review rather than blocking it entirely. Okay. Now I'll show you the happy path. The happy path is, suppose Alice, our best friend, is passing all the checks, Then what will happen is it will just do, let's say, random something something. The verdict is cleared for execution, and you can go to the FX view, right? Now this is something you will actually like. Once let me go to this is the view. Once you submit to chain, then the value is created and all that. The transaction is executed. And now that if we go back to the dashboard, you can see this payments being reflected in your volume. Again, these are just random figures. Now I'll enable the autonomous mode. Okay. This is taking a little bit of time because I'm deployed one server on a WSL separate machine. Once that is enabled, which I hope it is, yeah. So I'll go to the regulator view. And now you can notice in this chart, for high volume treasuries, manual approval is a bottleneck. SentinelPay features an autonomous mode. When enabled, our backend listens for pending payments and auto execute them if and only if they pass the strict on-chain policy constraint. Finally, for auditors, our regulatory view provides a complete visual map of funds, source of funds tracing, and instant access to cryptographic travel rule payloads for every single transaction. I don't know why I haven't changed this button's text right now, but this is how the regulator works when autonomous. Now I'll just show you the repository which I have created. Where's my GitHub account? Yeah. So right here, the front and back end are pretty much self-explanatory. The most important part in it is the anchor slash SentinelPay. This has all the tools which are necessary for it. This test I've written to check the contract deployment, which is currently on Smart DevNet. And these are all the smart contracts to execute payments. There's a the create policy, which we saw then. This is a create payment one. And this is the release grow smart contract. Nothing much really there. REST identity. These are just wrapper classes. If you go into the instructions for this, you can see the actual code which I use. Now, I'll just link the repository in the actual project so you can check out the source code yourself. Thank you very much.